right. I know this might sound a little repetitive to a lot of you, but based on some questions and comments I've gotten from actually several videos, I've decided to do a visual on this. I understand we all learn in different ways, and sometimes if you can see something visually, then it'll make more sense to you. The first thing I want to, well, let's just jump right into it. Our body, let's divide it by the solar plexus, which houses the sun and the moon. These are your power sources, and you get your intuition from here, right? You get that solar plexus gut instinct, like when something's wrong, right? It's kind of the dividing line, the sun and the moon. They're the positive and the negative. They're like the plug you stick into the wall. You have to have both of them for that energy to flow, right? Earth would be more like the 220. It turns the 110 into a 220. We'll get to that. Because to me, well, we'll get there. We'll see where the Earth comes in. At the top, let me see if I can move this. Oops, nope, I cannot. At the top, we have our crown chakra, Saturn. Then we have Mercury. Well, actually, Mercury runs from here through the throat, because he's also logic and intelligence, not just our voice. And then our heart, Venus. Below our solar plexus, we have Jupiter and Mars. Now, in this age that we're currently in, these two, both in the zodiac, they represent water and fire. But they're both in what we're going to call the underworld. They're in the underworld here. Up here, this group rules all heaven and earth. Okay? Right now, this whole world, because we're in Pisces and we're ruled by fire and ice. This is the battle of fire and ice that goes on within us. And it's in the underworld. This power right here in the upper world has been superseded. The cross is upside down. Hold on. So what we have to do now is turn him upside down. This is now Peter, the world we're in. Now you're going to understand, it's going to start to make sense when we do the same thing and we show you the solar plexus is here. The sun, the moon, and you can even put the earth here, really. The earth is ruled by the chakras that are now down here. Saturn is at the bottom. He's the devil. He's the lowest in Pisces. Then Mercury. Then Venus. While Jupiter and Mars rank top. Because we're an upside down Peter world. We're supposed to look up on the cross at the Virgin Mary, at the woman with the alabaster box, but our cross is upside down. So now Mary is below, and Jupiter is up. Jupiter is the emperor. He's also Darth Vader. He's Darth Vader and the emperor are there. What do they tell you? There's always the master and his apprentice. There's always two. You have the Sith Lord and his apprentice, his Padawan. And that's what we're dealing with. And that's why this is this way. Now, there is a desperate move to turn this the other way. And in the process of turning, you're going to get perversion. And that's what's happening. I got the question, are they trying to hijack or flip the next age? I think there's shit out of luck on that. But yes, I've been watching the rituals. A lot of my videos, especially on my first channel, what was about, I was noticing the rituals they were doing. And they do them in commercials. They do the rituals with symbols in the commercials. And one of the big rituals that I saw playing out for a number of years was the smiley face sun at Walmart. And he's rolling back. He's rolling back time. They're rolling back the sun. And that's changing time. They are definitely in the game of changing the times and the seasons, but they do everything with symbols. It's the universal language that we've not been allowed to learn. So all of this that's outside of us reflects also within us. Now here's where the earth part comes in. What can we do, right? What can we do? You get that 220. To have the 220, because we're running on low energy, but to get the 220, you have to bring the earth here, which is everything in threes, right? Everything in threes. Where's the third one down here? We have, it's us. It's our energy. We are represented by the earth, and we can either lock in down here or lock in up here. We're plugged into the wrong plug. You need to unplug from down here and replug to here. Down here is full of emotion. Here, that's the emo. You know, the emo generation makes perfect sense if you look in the grand scheme of things, because that generation was born when Pluto, the collective subconscious, Pluto was in the house of emotions, which is Scorpio. They're very sexual. They're very emotional. They've skipped over the Virgo generation and the Libra generation, and they gave the power to the emo generation. That is Pluto in Scorpio. It's not their time. They shouldn't be in power for another 20 years. This is what's being done, because that's massive control of the lower chakra. That's Mars making love, not war. These people are very anti-war. Because the cross is still upside down, they have a perverted sense of nature. It's very unnatural. But nature can be unnatural and still be called natural when we look at the physical world. But because we're not upside down, it's confusing to us. We don't fit in. Our plug don't fit in these holes. It's like the difference between America and Britain, and you take your hairdryer and try to plug it in. It ain't going to work. You have to have an adapter. You have to adapt. That's an adept, which is what this age is. It's an adaptable age. You're an adept. Adapt is to transmute. It's to change. It's to alter. Unfortunately, this is the age of the altar. It's huge. But we're being altered the wrong way. And it's done intentionally. And I've told you from the beginning, it is the Babylonian priesthood. Period. They're the scribes who scribble the scriptures. They hold the knowledge. They hold the power. They know the power of the symbols. They rule the cardinal cross. And they're ruling it from fire, Mars. Right? So we have both ends of Mars working together. You have the Aries Mars that's fiery. You have the watery Mars, which is emotions. And that's what they're doing. They have this group screaming at the top of their voices. And they're screaming, no war. They haven't learned the game yet. Look at here. When they tell you no new taxes, you get new taxes. When they tell you you get to keep your doctor, it means you don't get to keep your doctor. This is upside down world. The only place we can turn it around is within ourselves. That's it. You have to move from the lower kingdom to the upper kingdom and plug into the 220. To bring Earth into it is grounded. Now here's the thing about Earth. They've hijacked it. Because Earth is ruled by Venus in Taurus, Mercury right now in Virgo, and Saturn in Aquarius. So here are some of the things they're doing to prevent the power of the third eye from being prominent in the next age, because it's Saturn's turn. We're in an age of Jupiter. That's an age of desire. It's an age of religion. It's an age of groupthink, power in numbers. And that's metaphorically, literally, figuratively, across the board. All things in threes. It's the age of empire, growth, expansion, Jupiter. Spain comes from the word expansion. You have España, expansion, expansión. It's in the word. Steely Dan wrote the song, "It's the day of the expanding man." And indeed it is. And if you understood what expanding man was, that would be the same thing as it's the day of the Jupiterian man. And Jupiter, before the flood, ruled fire. And Mars ruled water. And it was a fairly good mix. But in this age, Jupiter moves from that Zeus character, the enlightened mind of Sagittarius, to Poseidon, the god of the abyss. We are in the abyss. This is Davy Jones Locker. Davy is short for David. Jones is something you do. We use that word in many different ways in English. We call it living up to the Joneses. When you are in the old slang term, when you were addicted to heroin or another substance and you were having withdrawals, they call that jonesing. So jonesing is a withdrawal. It's an inferior. It's inferior. That's another way we can look at this. Because in alchemy, you'll run across those terms. And they'll talk about superius and inferius from the Latin. You'll see a lot of Latin terminology, a lot of Greek terminology, and you're going to have to learn to read through that. And it's no different than being in first grade and kindergarten and learning your ABCs and your 1, 2, 3s. And you learn it just like you did then. You keep drawing those symbols and you keep repeating those patterns until it becomes second nature for you. Then you can pick up the book and read it. Homework is required if you want to attain this knowledge, the ability to use this knowledge for yourself. That's what I want to do. If my whole channel, I would settle for just one person that it really clicked for them. But if I could get 10 people that it happens for them like it did for me. Okay, I sat down and I done my homework for literally about 40 years. And then one day it just clicked. The light came on. I put that last piece of the puzzle in so I could see the big picture, the big template. And then I began doing the astrology charts. And when I started doing them, now I don't have, it's like alchemy. Now I don't have to go back to the chart. Say somebody sends me an encoded Egyptian text, right? What does this say? I don't have to go back to the charts anymore and look up each symbol to see what it says. And then I don't have to remember, is this from left to right, right to left, or is it as the ox plows? I automatically do that now. It is second nature. Second nature. So we are incorporating this into ourselves. To me, my brain is a tool. That's how I looked at it as a child, and I continue to look at it that way today. It is no different. It's not the whole of the system. To me, it helps me perceive. It helps me allocate information, file it, retrieve it, process it. Everything goes in there. It's what I do with it. Where do I file it? Or most of what we learn, we throw in the recycle bin. It's just boom. Nah. We're so programmed. New episode, new movie, new game. But all of that information is really still in there. There's no such thing as a delete. That's why when you think you've scrubbed your hard drive, but the experts can go in and retrieve that data. You literally have to destroy it. To get the information out of your brain to where it can never be retrieved, you would literally have to destroy your brain. Because if you think about it, even a brain that has turned off, right? No brain waves, this person's flatlined. They're dead. There's nothing happening. But when the soul comes back into the body and the person wakes up, it's like plugging back in, right? You are the plug. You're the connection. You're the adapter. You're the adept. You're the one that makes all this run. It's your being. You're the breath of life in this body. You're not the body, but you're subject to the body. So the best thing we can do is learn what it is and how to use it in our favor. It's not to be worshipped. It's not to be flaunted. Most people walk around, and that's what Jupiter and Mars do. They're very emotional, fiery, in this age, mutable. Everything is up for change here, so we're mutable. We are the miry clay right now. Instead of looking up to the woman with the alabaster box, we're inverted. We're looking up to Jupiter. The woman with the alabaster box is down here. That's us. We swap places with the above. And money and knowledge rule this age. Commerce, trade, intellect, navigation. Mercury and Jupiter work very well together because Jupiter is ruling the water, the abyss, the seas, and Mercury rules navigation. And Mercury is the only planet that's exalted in his own house. If they serve in any god down here, it's Mercury. And that's the little finger on the hand. Here's Mercury. He's the little finger. That's who they serve. That's who pays the bills. Mercury, we should be in a Jupiterian world looking up to Mercury, and they've made money bad. Maybe it should be this way. Somewhere along the line, these symbols got inverted. And instead of serving us, we are serving them. They were supposed to be there to help us. We can't reflip the world, but we can reflip ourselves. Now, I went, because this was a linguistic thing for me in the beginning, not an astrology thing. Astrology was the furthest thing from my mind in the beginning. When I unbibbled the Bible, I still was unable to see that connection. So I spent a lot of time on symbolism and what they were doing with it and the effect that it was having. I just sat back as an observer for years and literally watched a lot of commercials, which is where they use most of the symbols. That's why I've been screaming for decades. The bad guy is the advertiser. He's adding a verse. He's the middleman. He takes the corporation's product, or the corporation itself. He stamps a logo on it, a symbol of power. And then they market it, right? Mercury rules the markets. And they lie about it when they market it. They're exploiting the people by lying about the product. Used to, we had integrity in advertising. We had integrity in journalism, in the media, at least in some part. We were always being manipulated, but there was a better standard than we have now. Now it's just full-blown outright lies. We live in a recyclable society. Everything is made to break. That way you have to buy another one. It's only temporary. It's temporal. And they've trained everybody through commercials, and especially using the internet, to have a very low attention span. 2 minutes, you're done. If you ain't got your message out in 2 minutes, you're done. Because for several generations now, that's how we've been programmed. So to get the message in there in 2 minutes, they don't even bother talking to you. The commercials, they're talking shit. They're actually laughing at you and what you see. But the symbolism they flash at you and that's embedded in the commercials is perverted, and it's screaming to your collective and your individual subconscious. That's what it's doing. And that's how they've achieved it. And that's how they trigger this emo generation they put out there as their scapegoat. Everything is temporal. They're going to turn on them. They're already turning on themselves. You need to see it for what it is. That's why I'm telling you, don't get on one side or the other. This thing is ruling both sides, and it's destroying part of itself. But if it hasn't realized that to destroy one side of yourself is to destroy the whole. You have to find balance. We are spiritual beings having a carnal experience. It's temporal, it's carnal. There are things terrestrial and there are things celestial. The best thing that we can do for ourselves right now in the scheme of things is to get grounded. To get grounded. And Earth, or the grounded that we've got right here, right now, needs to unplug from the lower and plug into the top. I want to say this too. The Earth itself grounds us. Nike is Mercury, and Converse was one of the big ones in the beginning of all of this, of putting rubber to separate you from the ground. That's why tennis shoes are so huge. You need to take your damn shoes off, and you can ground with the earth. You need to be grounded, so that when you're grounded, the energy don't blow up inside of you, right? It's like a lightning rod that goes down into the earth. And so you're a conduit, and this energy is channeling through you, and it expresses itself through our voice, our actions, our emotions. But if we're grounded, then that energy is dissipated, and it won't explode inside of us. Right now, everything is at its peak drama. I know we hate what's going on, but this is something that needs to happen. It needs to happen. This evil must come to a full. We don't want to put it off. We need for evil to play its last card. That way it don't exist all in the next age. It's done. It came to a full. That's how it's expressed in a lot of different scriptures, actually. That it needs to reach its apex. It needs to play its last card. And it's playing it on itself right now. And we just need to be the observer, get grounded. Move from these symbols of the lower chakra to these symbols of the upper chakra. We need heaven on earth and not the battle of fire and ice. This is terrestrial. This is celestial. This is temporal. This is eternal. They're so opposite each other. Now understand, on every cross, in every age, we're coming into Aquarius. So we're going to have air on top, and its opposite, fire on the bottom. And Taurus is going to be in his right hand. That's earth. So we have this symbol. Mars will be in his left hand. That's water. That's this symbol. We're going to have all four. But on the fixed cross, when air's at the top, it's stable. In the word stable is table. It's also, stable is also a stall. It's a stall. The flock in the age of Taurus, they were cattle. In the age of Aries, they were called sheep. In the age of Pisces, they are called fish. But the flock, it returns to flock in Aries because they're a flock of birds. And they're not a flock of seagulls. Seagulls now, because we're between ages. We're between the water and the sky. Pisces and Aquarius. Pisces, water. Aquarius, air, heaven, sky. This is the fixed cross. With Aquarius, air, Leo, fire, Mars, water, and Venus, earth. And all of this is within us. For those of you who are Aquarius, that is your cross. You're looking at it. These are a stable, fixed Aquarian cross. And it's the best time ever for not just men, for not just people or mankind or humanity, but for everything. The animals, the birds, the plants. But right now, what we're seeing going on in politics, the media, the world, New World Order agenda, all of it's based on this. 100%. And they have drugged down they threw in mutable earth, right? This is Mercury. Mutable earth, Virgo, they brought into this mix. It's their miry clay. It's coming down. And it's the stone from heaven that brings it down. There are three heavens. Mercury, if they flip this, Mercury moves from the earth sign to the air sign and becomes the very stone and destroys itself. Did you catch what I just said? That Mercury rules air in Gemini and earth in Virgo. And they're both mutable. They both bring change. They both bring change. You're never going to get any of this if you don't learn the terminologies and the symbols of astrology and alchemy. To me, they're the two keys, the two witnesses. Right now, we live in the age of the architect. We're moving to the age of the alchemist, the master. The architect's an adept. He's not a master. Then you have, like I said, the Babylonian priesthood who's ruling everything. They're really, really, really smart. They are grand masters. But they're kind of like the eccentric old genius. Their time is done because they can't plug into the upper chakra anymore. They never could. It's a patriarchal priesthood performing matriarchal magic. That's what they're doing. And they're not qualified to do it. So they have to perform a sacrifice. And they've been doing it for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And those who have broke the code in the past and tried to give it to the world, gave it in art, in music, and in alchemy, in astrology. It's written in the heavens for us to see if we can just learn the language. And that's something that takes practice. It takes practice. It took me a long time. Now, like I said, it's second nature. I don't have to refer to charts anymore. I don't have to have, it's all in my head because I took the time to learn it. And now I see it everywhere. I see a whole new world around me. I see both matrices overlaid on top of each other. Matrices. Say that properly. All right. Audio visual. Did that help you out any? Those of you who are asking questions. These are your chakras. This is the dividing line. We see the world. Everything that evokes fear, hate, drama, adrenaline of any kind keeps you down here. And it keeps you in the physical world. I love that pH. We're going to have to go through that one day. And the spiritual world. Now here's what they do. SPRT, that's spirit. It has the I. It has the I. And down here, to get you out of the upper chakras of the spirit, they give you sport. And it's competitive. It's pitting one against another. You've been drugged to the pit. They took your I and gave you an O. That's how this game works. It's a symbolic, alphabetic, and it runs in order. You're going to move to the spurt. You get the spurt, the sprite, the sport, the spirit. It's ports. You can move the N-S to the end. It's ports. That's where you go dock in. Your berth, the ship. This is maritime law world. It's admiralty law world. Admiralty law under Mercury. Maritime law under Jupiter. Empire. We're moving to a pneumatic. And they spell that with a P. P-N. And we're going to, that's the Greek. We know it as new. Right now we're all on automatic. We've been programmed. We're automatically run on the program we were given. And your education. But we need to unprogram. Forget everything you thought you knew. I actually don't forget. What you do is you take the puzzle and crumble it all up and put the pieces back in the box. And then take them out one at a time and look at them again. And now put them where they go. And you'll see a completely different picture than the one you put together the first part of your life before you're born into this new understanding, new knowledge, new world. If you're going to live in the kingdom, you need to understand its language, its terminology, and how it works. And it's nothing like the spirit world and the sport world couldn't be further apart. The spirit world, it's a solo thing. The sport world, that's the collective consciousness. Groupthink in a ritual, doing the wave, pitting one side against another. It's a Babylonian priesthood magic. All right. Learn your symbols. Get in the know. Get in the now. The canal. Get in the know. Do your homework. Copy those symbols over and over and over. Write them. Paint them. Recognize them in everything. You play I Spy with my little eye. With my little eye, I spy.